Is Israeli Independence Day a celebration or a catastrophe? The uncomfortable answer is it's both. And that's something I wrestle with all the time, because that's where things start to get complicated. In this video, I want to talk through how I've been trying to make sense of that, how two completely opposing narratives can both be true, and why ignoring that might be exactly why this conflict never moves forward. So if you're trying to understand this conflict, and you think that one side looks completely evil, then you're probably missing part of the story. So I live in Israel, and this week is Israeli Independence Day. It's probably my favorite holiday. For all the same reasons that the 4th of July is great in the US. There's fireworks, barbecues, people get together, it's great weather, and the atmosphere is palpable. There's joy in the air. But I also know that for others in this country, Israeli independence represents a catastrophe. In fact, that's what they call it in Arabic, Nakba, the catastrophe. And I've never really known what to do with that, how to hold both of these at the same time. This is me in the Israeli army, serving on the Gaza border back in 2009. I was reading the Count of Monte Cristo. I remember, yes, a dog gave birth on our base. I was serving on the Gaza border in Israel in 2009. Gilad Shalit, an Israeli soldier, was a hostage in Gaza at the time. My army officer, the first day that we got to the base, was sniped at. They missed. A rocket had landed in the base just a few weeks before we arrived at the base. So this was my life. Every day we were doing patrols, looking for infiltrators. And meanwhile, there was this whole life going on across the fence that I knew nothing about. And they were actively trying to kill us. It was my job to be one of the people who stopped them. So I keep coming back to this question, why does each side feel so convinced that the other side is completely wrong? So much so that they would kill or die for it. The more I've looked into it, the more I've talked to Palestinians, the more I've come to believe that this is because there's truth in both sides, and we're wired to oversimplify it. It's human instinct and its biology to oversimplify things, to reduce complexity, to create good versus bad. Growing up, learning about Israel, learning about Zionism, there was a lot left out. And ironically enough, it was during my army service that I decided to explore it for myself. Jews say that they finally have a place to be safe from persecution, from attempts at complete annihilation that happened over and over throughout Jewish history. They have historic roots that go back thousands and thousands of years in this place and have never actually left this land. There have always been Jews here. And that they did the work to build the country, to form the alliances, to become strong, to develop an army, and become a country. And typically, you'll hear that Palestinians don't have a national narrative, that they made it all up as a way of combating the Jewish identity and the Jewish claim to this place, and that Palestinians as a whole want the complete annihilation, the complete removal of Jews from the land of Israel. And there's a lot of truth in that narrative. Palestinians say that they were here, and Jews just started showing up, that they have a deep and rich history here, and many of them do for generations, and that Arab citizens of Israel, Palestinian Israelis, are not treated the same as Jewish Israelis, and definitely not within the Palestinian territories. They're abused, they don't have full rights, and they don't see a prosperous future for their children. And I've explored it. There's truth in both of these, but neither one tells the full story. I work as a documentarian and a journalist in Israel, and I've had the opportunity to see so many aspects of this country and the Palestinian territories and go in and out of the checkpoints, meet people, interview people, hear their story, explore their land. And I wanted to invite my friends, my Jewish friends, along for that journey with me. So I organized a trip and we went to Ramallah, which is the de facto capital of the Palestinian territories. And they have a museum there about Palestinian history. And so it's me and a bunch of my Jewish friends are walking through this museum, reading the placards, seeing the pictures, experiencing their narrative completely. And I remember thinking, this is not incredibly biased. This is not incredibly anti-Israel. This is not spreading hate. This is not spreading violence. They're telling their story and their connection to the land. And one of the friends that was with me had grown up on a settlement in Israel. So I went up to him and I said, well, what do you think? He looked up at me and said, I don't think we're going to have peace until both sides realize that the other side is also right. What I've really come to is that oversimplification, it doesn't just distort reality, it creates enemies. It leads to violence. Jews have a history here, and in my opinion, Jews need a homeland where they can be safe and where they can protect themselves. That's real, that's true. And also, Palestinian loss and suffering is real. And the Jewish presence here has come with a cost for them. And here's the hardest part to say. The world is not fair. History is not balanced. There are wins, there are losses. And in conflict, sometimes there are winners and losers. But the question to ask the winner is, what are they doing with that position? And do they continue to extract a cost to the other side? I think in this specific conflict, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, there's a clear winner. The Jews won. Israel won. It's not going anywhere. It's a regional superpower. It is the victor in this whole situation. And in order to ensure a future for themselves, Palestinians have to accept that reality. To be a dignified winner means you make space for the other side's story, and you make space for the other side's success, even if it challenges your own to a certain extent. And I think the biggest thing for me with this conflict is when I think about it and I realize it really doesn't matter what we think, because neither side is going anywhere. So they kind of have to figure out a way to get along, or there's just going to be perpetual war. It's kind of like a bad marriage, but divorce isn't an option. And getting along starts by embracing the truths in each other's narratives. If both sides only teach their own truths, then we're stuck. And when it comes to negotiations, my dad, who's a lawyer and has negotiated business contracts and a million other things, has always said to me, if both sides leave a negotiation a little unhappy, it's probably a fair result. So to me, the resolution of this conflict, if there is such a thing, isn't about one side winning completely. It's about finding a way to ensure that neither side loses everything. So I'm still trying to figure all this out, and I wrestle with this every Independence Day, this mixture of pride and discomfort. Maybe that tension isn't something that needs to be resolved. Maybe it's something I just need to sit with, because that might be where real understanding actually begins.